preaching today because preaching counts as work, and I'm on disability now, so I'm not working, obviously. I have some things that I want to share with you this morning, though, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. Our reading this morning from the Gospel according to Luke is from very early in Jesus' ministry. He has just called his disciples and has begun his work of preaching, teaching, and healing, which proves to be hugely popular. People walk miles out into the wilderness just for a chance to hear his voice, meet his glance, touch his robe. This is the beginning of what we call the Sermon on the Plain, in which Jesus lays out the principles that guide him. It has a parallel in the Gospel according to Matthew, which we call the Sermon on the Mount. That sermon of Jesus is much longer, 111 verses compared to just 29 that Luke gives us in the Sermon on the Plain. I ask you to pay close attention to these readings today because there are very important differences in the way that Matthew and Luke tell the story and recount these sayings of Jesus. PK, would you please read for us?
It would be my pleasure. Jesus came down with them and stood on a level place with a great crowd of his disciples and a great multitude of people from all Judea, Jerusalem, and the coast of Tyre and Sidon. They had come to hear him and to be healed of their diseases, and those who were troubled with unclean spirits were cured. And all in the crowd were trying to touch him, for power came out from him and healed all of them.
If you knew someone who could heal you or someone you love, who heals everyone of everything that ails them, would you follow that person out into the wilderness? I sure would. I would definitely like to get me some healing right now. And then if he started to talk, would you listen? Yes. Yes, indeed, I would. So let's listen. PK, would you continue, please?
Absolutely. Then Jesus looked up at his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven. For that is what their ancestors did to the prophets."
What did Jesus just say here? Blessed are you who are poor, hungry, grieving, and excluded from community. Do those sound like blessings to you? They do not sound like blessings to me. You may automatically, if you're familiar with the Bible, you may automatically think of the way that Matthew words these things. Matthew has Jesus saying, "Blessed are you who are poor in spirit, who are hungry for righteousness." This came up on Tuesday night as we were talking about these scriptures. It's easier to imagine how a little spiritual hunger might bring us closer to God. And Matthew adds some others that are not found in Luke at all. Blessed are the meek, the merciful, the pure in heart, the peacemakers. We'd be okay with it if people thought of us as merciful peacemakers with pure hearts, right? We wouldn't mind that. But that is not what Luke is saying. Luke's Jesus is saying that conditions nobody wants are blessings. Nobody wants to be poor. Nobody wants to wonder where their next meal is coming from. Nobody wants to grieve. Nobody wants to have their reputation run through a crosscut shredder and be tossed out in the recycling bin to be turned into toilet paper. Just in case we didn't get the message yet, Luke's Jesus follows these four perplexing blessings with four exactly equal and opposite woes. We're going to see those in just a moment. Here we go. Woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets. This, my friends, I regret to tell you, is the gospel of the Lord.
Praise be to you, Lord Christ.
So how do you like this picture? I'm grateful that we're using some of my photos today. Thank you, PK. I took this photo in the Hatay Archaeological Museum in Antakya, Turkey, just miles from the Syrian border. This is a 5-foot tall, 3,000-year-old statue of the Hittite king Suppiluliuma, found in a farmer's field in 2012. I think he's meant to look powerful and resolute, but he's actually wearing the expression that these blessings and woes of Jesus give me. I would like to be powerful, in my spirit, of course, and resolute. But when I hear Jesus say things like this, I just get a big old uh-oh on my face, just like King Suppiluliuma. So how is it possible that a literally poor, actually hungry, really grieving, and totally outcast person could be blessed? Nobody comes into this world saying, hey, maybe it would be fun to be poor. I have a new perspective on this since December, when I got very bad medical news, news that nobody wants. Most of you already know this. At the beginning of December, I learned that my breast cancer has returned after 14 years, has metastasized from my head to my hips, and then my treatment options so far are rather limited. Metastatic breast cancer never goes away. Sooner or later, it is fatal. It killed my cousin last year. I stood next to her open grave last August with the urn holding her ashes cradled on my hip, and remembered how I used to carry her that way when she was a baby. I want you all to keep praying that my treatments will work for a long time, but wishing that I didn't have this disease will not change it. Positive thinking will not heal it. And yet, what do these supposed blessings have in common? They are positions of powerlessness. The poor, hungry, grieving, sick, may I add sick, would change their situations if they could. If I had a choice, I would absolutely choose to stay with you through the end of this appointment year and have a nice retirement party, and then spend my summer at the lake, and then go back to working as a chaplain part-time in the fall. I would choose to meet my grandchildren who are not yet even conceived, much less born, and celebrate their college graduations. I would not choose the level of pain I already have, much less the pain my imagination serves up in the wee hours when I can't sleep. So in these troublesome blessings, Jesus states as a fact, he's not promising it, he's stating this as a fact, those who suffer are comforted. But where exactly is this blessing found? Where is the promised reign of God, the overflowing table for the hungry, the joyous community full of laughter? Well, actually, a piece of that community was in my front yard yesterday when the whole choir showed up. A foretaste of the banquet to come. Jesus says that those who suffer are, in the present tense, comforted. They don't have to wait for some eternal reward. They are comforted now. I have found this comfort. I have found this comfort in my recognition that I don't control everything. I would fix this if I could, and if I was busy fixing things, there are a whole bunch of other things I would fix too. I mean, if I had the power to fix things, oh boy, we'd have some big changes around here, I tell you. I would fix these if I could, but I can't. There is grief in this recognition, but also enormous freedom. I am not in charge of everything. And I declare that God is, and God is trustworthy. And even if the outcome is not what I would choose, everything will be all right. Everything is already all right. This is not the same as giving up. Anybody who glances at my calendar will see that I am very busy not giving up. Rather, it is like sinking my roots down into living water, like Pastor Christina was showing about. It's like being one of those green trees, not that dried out, scraggly tree. Sinking my roots down into the living water, the source that keeps even trees from being anxious in a time of drought. We said these words ourselves from Jeremiah 17 earlier. Blessed are those who trust in the Lord. They shall be like a tree planted by water, sending out its roots by the stream. It shall not fear when the drought comes, when the heat comes, and its leaves shall stay green. In the year of drought, it is not anxious, and it does not cease to bear fruit. What a wonderful promise this is. In my dark moments, and there certainly are some, I begin to imagine that I am done here, that my harvest is over. Because I can't do what I have done for so long, or what I imagine doing in the future, I am tempted to assume that I have nothing left to contribute. But it just isn't so. Not for me and not for you, as long as we submit to being blessed, as long as we yield to the reality that we are not in control of everything. Luke wants to make sure we get that. Having laid out the blessings for those who suffer from things beyond their control, Luke's Jesus continues, woe to you when you think that if you just try hard enough, you will get what you want. The woes are positions of earthly power. When we are rich, well-fed, happy, and well-connected, we can be tempted to think that we got all this by our own efforts and that it is permanent. Jesus doesn't say it's bad to be happy. We can be happy and enjoy our possessions, relationships, and circumstances. He just says that these things are their own reward. If that's where we put all our effort and attention, then that's all we're ever going to get. So here's your takeaway for today. When you are wealthy, well-fed, and surrounded by good friends and happy circumstances, enjoy them and share them, but don't let them take all your attention. Remember that things change all the time and that we control far less than we might like to think. Use the good times to grow the roots that will nourish you when times are hard. Deepen your spiritual life in the good times so that your connection with the Spirit is a well-traveled two-way street all the time. And if you are suffering now, reach out now in this moment for the comfort that Jesus promises. I can assure you that when things are hard, the comfort is real. God delivers that comfort in lots of different ways, through loved ones and caring strangers, as well as pouring it directly into our souls. Like a tree with its roots near the water, we can keep on bearing fruit, even when the circumstances don't look particularly promising. Blessed are you, my friends, when things are not going your way, for God is near. Amen.